In the live interview, we are attempting to detect deception as well as validity, and also to manage the emotional content of the interview. I developed the optics principle as a way of recognizing the factors involved in that process. Optics consists of observation, perceived risk, time, interaction, context, and sophistication. With observation, we look at the micro behaviors of a person, such as skin color, breathing patterns, pulse, muscle tension. These are controlled by the autonomic nervous system, and they're beyond the person's control in terms of deceptive attempts. And so you fine-tune your ability to pick up these little indicators of stress that are behind the mask of deception. With perceived risk, you have to recognize that there's a subjective element with this person. If this person doesn't feel that there's any risk for them, or they are not really lying to you, they're just being deceptive without actually lying, they may have a very low stress, and you may be misreading this as them being credible. So you really have to ask yourself the question, what is their risk as they see it? How do they perceive their risk? With time, we have to recognize that the only way you can really understand what the meaning of a person's response to you non-verbally is by having the ability to compare them in two different states. So it's important that you get them relaxed to see how they are in terms of voice, tone, tempos, rate of speech, skin color, and then compare that when you're talking about something which is a critical issue. And that's when you have the ability to really determine what that person appears like in different emotional states. Interaction, you really need to ensure that you have left field questions, so that there's some questions that even though they may have rehearsed their story, they don't always have the answer for. And then you see how they react to that and what kind of stress that generates. And then you'll know the level of deception involved in their response. With context, every context is different. And so if a person is in a situation where they feel there's really little likelihood of consequence, then they will have very low stress. Now, a person who has low stress is a person who's not going to display anything that indicates deception because they're not in stress. So what you have to do there is just work on the logic of their stories and also make it very clear to them what the consequences are, because it might be a misperception by ignorance. With sophistication, the more sophisticated a person is as a deceiver with you or as an interviewee, the less likely they are going to give you nonverbal indicators of stress. They will be much more sophisticated in terms of their ability to mask their responses. They'll be quick thinkers, they'll sound very credible, they'll look credible. With an individual like that, you just need to focus on the logic of their stories and their statements and ignore the nonverbal indicators because they are not reliable. And so basically that's what the optic principle does, is it gives you an opportunity to measure the factors that influence and also give you some hints on how to not only identify emotional content but manage emotional content and feel confident about doing it.